A bitter cucumber, throw it away. Brambles in the path, go around them. That is all you need, without going on to ask, so why are these things in the world anyway? That question would be laughable to a student of nature, just as a carpenter or cobbler would laugh if you objected to the sight of shavings from their work on the shop floor. Yet they have somewhere to throw their rubbish, whereas the nature of the whole has nothing outside itself. The marvel of its craft is that it sets its own confines and recycles into itself everything which seems to be decaying, growing old, or losing its use, and then creates afresh from the same material. In this way, it requires no substance other than its own, and has no need for a rubbish dump. So it is complete in its own space, its own material, and its own craftsmanship. Marcus Aurelius was emperor of Rome at the end of the Roman Golden Age, from 161 to 180 AD. He was notorious for being a humble leader and Stoic philosopher. His meditations, originally written in Greek, have been translated into nearly every language and serve as a source of inspiration to millions. Yet he never intended for his writing to be published. It was never meant to be read by anyone. In fact, he wanted his writing burned after he died. There was no motive or agenda behind this work, other than to serve as an internal dialogue of wisdom from his higher self to his lower self. Each and every one of us has this internal split, the higher self being the conscious, rational mind, and the lower self being the subconscious programs, behavior patterns, and impulses. Marcus Aurelius was the most powerful man on earth for 19 years. He could have satisfied every desire of his lower impulses. Sex with anyone, wine by the boatload, mountains of gold, unlimited temptation, and yet, he did not disgrace himself. He did not live scandalously, like almost every other ruler we know about in history. Marcus concerned himself with virtue, honor, philosophy, and serving the common good. He stands as history's shining example that absolute power does not always corrupt absolutely, which is why Meditations is still relevant nearly 2,000 years later. This video will focus on one of the essential teachings of Marcus Aurelius, the power of indifference. Marcus Aurelius emphasizes that we must be indifferent about things that make no difference. This may seem like an obvious statement, but the power and depth underlying this idea cannot be overstated. Indifference is not the same as not caring. It is not about being numb to life, nor is it about ignoring our emotions. Indifference is a separation of your higher self from physical reality, emotions, and thoughts. It is detachment from the outcomes so the rational mind can observe events from a clear distance. Much of our time is spent worrying about the small stuff. We find things to complain about or obsess over, not knowing that these things bear no impact on our life in the greater context. Change is the only constant. Change is inevitable. Our attachment to things that change is what causes us suffering. It is our resistance to change that causes us stress. Marcus Aurelius writes, "They kill, they cut in pieces, they hunt with curses. What relevance does this have to keeping your mind pure, sane, sober, just? As if a man were to come to a spring of clear, sweet water and curse it. It would still continue to bubble up water good to drink. He could throw in mud or dung, and in no time the spring will break it down, wash it away, and take no color from it. How then can you secure an everlasting spring and not a cistern? By keeping yourself at all times intent on freedom and staying kind, simple, and decent. How do we keep our mind pure and sane? By being indifferent to everything that doesn't matter, by letting go of everything we can't control, by understanding the temporary, fleeting nature of the material world and focusing your mind on things that are eternal. In this way, you will see your place in the greater cosmos. You will see that on the highest level, everything is part of a balanced order. Within our bodies right now, there is a war happening between our immune system and parasites, yet we sit here breathing, functioning, and taking it all for granted. On a psychological level, there's a mental health crisis, an addiction epidemic, depression, anxiety, loneliness, and hopelessness. On a cultural level, there's political division, collapse of empires, wars, riots, protests, civil unrest, environmental destruction, and a plummeting birth rate. But on a cosmic level, the world is spinning, and all the planets are orbiting about in perfect harmony. It's like in nature, when a giant redwood falls. Some would call it a tragedy, but it also creates space for sunlight to hit the forest floor, and seeds, which had been laying dormant, are now able to burst into life. All is part of a greater whole. All is part of a higher order. If only we had eyes to see it. Like Confucius wrote, everything has beauty, but not everyone can see it. When you detach from the outcomes, you will discover an invisible thread that connects the microcosm to the macrocosm, and you will see a beauty in everything. Marcus Aurelius writes, we should attend to things like these, observing that the incidental effect of the process of nature has their own charm and attraction. Take the baking of bread. The loaf splits open here and there, and those very cracks, in one way a failure of the baker's profession, somehow catch the eye and give a particular stimulus to our appetite. Figs likewise burst open at full maturity, and an olive ripened on the tree, to the very proximity of decay lends a special beauty to the fruit. So any man, with a feeling and deeper insight for the workings of the whole, will find some pleasure in almost any aspect of their disposition. He will see a kind of bloom and fresh beauty in an old woman or old man. Marcus Aurelius took this attitude of indifference one step further and reflected it inward. He used it to change the way he perceived adversity in his own life. He saw that all the hardship he faced was training him for a higher purpose. All the pain you've endured has made you uniquely you. And in retrospect, looking back on my life, the times I've struggled the most strike me as the most beautiful and meaningful. Marcus Aurelius writes, why see more misfortune in the event than fortune in your ability to bear it? This is no misfortune, but to bear it true to yourself is good fortune. He goes on to write, whatever happens to you was being prepared for you from everlasting, and the mesh of causes was ever spinning from eternity for both your own existence and the incidents of this particular happening. Love the hand that fate deals you, and play it as your own. It's easy to look back and see the times of hardship as a meaningful experience. It's much more difficult to see the beauty in the adversity we face in the present moment. But it can be done, and it's an amazingly powerful tool. It allows you to see clearly and make decisions using your conscious, rational mind. Instead of being dragged by your fears and impulses, you can lead with your higher self, which will ultimately lead you to what you want most in life. Not what you want now, but what you want most. Marcus writes, you can strip away many unnecessary troubles which lie wholly in your own judgment, and you will immediately make large and wide room for yourself by grasping the whole universe in your thought, contemplating the eternity of time, and reflecting on the rapid change of each thing in every part. How brief the gap from birth to death, how vast the gulf of time before your birth, and an equal infinity after your death. With this widened perspective, we can be indifferent to the never-ending peaks and valleys of the material world. We can be indifferent to the weather, other people's opinions, cultural trends, our own physical ailments, and even our death. This indifference will free us from the burden of suffering. Discomfort is inevitable, but suffering is a choice. But does this mean we should be indifferent about everything? Absolutely not. Marcus Aurelius saw it was our duty as humans to reach our highest potential. He observed how everything in nature, the birds, bees, and plants, all have a role to fulfill. A tree grows big and powerful, not for fame or praise, but because that is what it was put on earth to do. In order to live in accordance with nature, we must focus our energy on being the kindest, wisest, and most virtuous person we can be. We cannot control what happens to us, but we can control how we react. And therefore, as long as we use our rational mind, we get to decide who we become. Fate is what you are given. Destiny is what you make of it. On the highest level, one strives for the perfection of the soul, an accumulation of all the qualities you admire most: infinite integrity, honor, love, purpose, justice, and service. The word perfection has many negative connotations, and that is because perfection is impossible to attain, at least in any permanent way. It is not the attainment of perfect that we wish to possess, but the never-ending pursuit of it that keeps us moving in the right direction. This is what fulfills our soul, to reach for the highest form of the self. It is not ego worship. In fact, it is the exact opposite. The ego wants to control a situation, while indifference is a process of letting go. It is a complete shedding of everything that the ego has so vigorously manufactured. The ego gets attached to material objects. Our true self, our soul, is attached to nothing, yet connected to everything. We must reach for this divine ideal, and although we will always fall short, as long as we orient ourselves toward it and use our free will to pursue it, we will live in accordance with nature and the universe. Fyodor Dostoevsky summed up this sentiment beautifully with this quote: "The one essential condition of human existence is that man should always be able to bow down before something infinitely great. If men are deprived of the infinitely great, they will not go on living and will die of despair. Let go of what you can't control. Do not concern yourself with drama or doubt or temptation. Do not worry yourself by imagining your whole life at once. Pick your head up and aim yourself towards the highest ideal. Without an ideal, there is nothing to aspire to. Joy comes from making progress toward an ideal. The greater the ideal, the greater the joy. Understand the power of indifference. There is beauty to be seen in all things, in the world and within yourself. There is nothing to run from. Death smiles at us all. All we can do is smile back. Remember that the integrity and purity of the soul is what matters. No matter what fate deals you, you have the power to keep your mind and soul pure, free, intent, and everlasting. Everything else does not matter. We're living in a time where thinking critically is more important than ever, yet the media often pushes narratives that are intended to manipulate rather than inform. Having the right tools helps you stay grounded and see through the bias. A tool I enjoy using is today's sponsor, Ground News, an app and website that aggregates news from all over the world in one place. For every news story, I get a quick visual breakdown of the outlet.
Recon. Put you in the sickle for the harvest is right. We ain't down for wickedness, false prophets are lie. Woman to the wicked grass of line to sight. Unquenchable flame, stars fall in the night. Shemayim snapped the scroll, mountains fled in the anger. Hills a flock of rams, skipping special forces, recon angels. Really by no labels, we bout labor for the source. Wells up in infinite, waters coming forth. Spiritual revival, dehydration shall I pour. Kept the run down to the mouth, cool floor. Kingdom heaven in me is parts of the morbid head. Treasure like deep in you key to the never end. We all a ray, a fragment piece of the sea sledge. Point of a center, he segment filled in with ether. He'll be on the end, you're passing the present teacher. Pre-sealed and covenant, Nehemiah, not Easter. We all a ray, a fragment piece of the sea sledge. Point of a center, he segment filled in with ether. He'll be on the end, you're passing the present teacher. Pre-sealed and covenant, Nehemiah, not Easter. Not a game, stolen the soul arrangement. Adversary in the details, mirrors and smoking angels. Incriminating emails, fake news, read the paper. Pimping who been printing, it's all designed to take ya. Division in your cells, almighty sustain. Ain't got how relying on nothing else. In trouble, it's all vapor, elder wind in the sails. The water, the whole rainbow, reclamation, just a vessel. The rest of Jonah you came for. Stay mind, woe and holy who. Lord, if they only knew how they controlling you, thought still a slave. Look how they holding you, enemy scoping you, word on the wing. Stay mind, dwell with holy who. Lord, if they only knew how they controlling you, thought still a slave. Look how they holding you, enemy scoping you, word on the wing. Force tremendous, Bill Adam breath, living dust, mushy for the enemy, burnt down like a Dutch. Once upon a distant, dirty sackcloth in the ashes. Truth don't grow with mischief, prayer get raised about the ashes. Save me from the mire, I would fell if not your pasture. Had you not an anchor, if you save me, I'll be thrown. Thorn to the thief, leech, mind to the corn. Stone in the sling, sing signs in the storm. Rock foundation, time echo with the north. Recon over game, wings fly with the force. All purpose type material to camouflage the course. Tiger stripe, orange, red drip from the source. We all array, your fragment piece of the sea sledge. Point of a center, he segment filled in with ether. He'll be on it then, you're passing the present teacher. Pre-sealed and covenant, Nehemiah, not Easter. Stay mind, dwell with holy who. Lord, if they only knew how they controlling you, thought still a slave. Look how they holding you, enemy scoping you, word on my word. Stay mind, dwell with holy who. Lord, if they only knew how they controlling you, thought still a slave. Look how they holding you, enemy scoping you, word on my wing.
Test. All right, I think we're good to go. Going on 48 hours, no food, nothing but herbal tea. Still run the frequency machine. We'll see if how my body responds to that. So yeah, big changes it seems happening internally with me and in life. probably a long time coming. I've been abusing my body for the longest time, not truly caring about myself the way that I could, pretty much just sacrificing myself to the world, with some attempt to try to make change here with myself and the situation. So a bit more holistic approach going forward, right? It's necessary for myself, and I'm sure others who interact with me and deal with me and have to experience my energy and character. So with that said, we come full circle in this life, right? Back to where we started. So a bit more peaceful, a bit more caring and loving, a bit more focused on what I need to do for myself and others, and just kind of surrendering the rest. So link is down there if you got anything pressing that you want to get into. I'm open for that. If not, we're going to get to some breaking slave news, do some Karl Lentz Q&A, legal lawful. Eat one time per day, 20 years. Well, there you go. All right, let's go. Pasco County sheriffs. They're apparently doing predictive policing. They're saying they're going to shut it down. We'll see where it goes.
Pasco County Sheriff's Office has settled a lawsuit that brings to an end the department's predictive policing program. The initiative used data to predict who might be likely to commit crimes. Officers would then monitor and sometimes harass those people. For a while, the sheriff's office had access to the Pasco School District's student data, such as grades and attendance, to advance this effort. This week, the sheriff's office agreed to pay $105,000 to 4 plaintiffs who sued over the program. The plaintiffs alleged that their constitutional rights were violated after they became targets of the sheriff's prolific offender program. People on the list and their families were subjected to prolific offender checks, during which deputies looked to cite them for issues like having grass that was too high, missing house numbers, unvaccinated pets, and excessive window tint on parked cars. The agency's program was the subject of a 2020 Tampa Bay Times investigation, which won the Pulitzer Prize for its reporting. A Pasco Sheriff's Office spokesperson said in a statement this week that the settlement was strictly a financial decision because costs for trial could have reached millions of dollars paid for by taxpayers. And Erica, let's start there. Do you think it was a financial decision to save taxpayers' money?
Well, who knows? One suspects that they thought that they were probably going to lose anyway. But here is another example of the effectiveness of traditional reporting. They spent a lot of time looking through documents and body cam video and all kinds of things to really figure out what exactly police were doing in order to do this predictive policing stuff, because it wasn't obvious. And then once they revealed it, it still took 4 years to get to this resolution. So, kudos to the Tampa Bay Times and the reporters there for unearthing this. And shame on the police department for taking so long to own up to something that's obviously crossing a line. And even within the stories, people were quoted as saying, the goal was to harass people to the point where they either moved or sued the police department, which seems to be a terrible.
It's weird because when I talked about this, how long ago are we now? 15 years ago? About 15 or so years ago, they said I was crazy and that I was imagining things, and that I had a, this idea that everything revolved around me. And I go, no, I'm pretty sure they're following me around town and harassing me and wanting me to leave here because they're telling me they run this town. Grabbing me by the neck, dragging me behind 7-Elevens, telling me they're going to beat me, follow me all up and down the street, walking around. And when I told them, it seems as though they're somehow, some way tracking me. I don't know if the phone technology was that good back then. I was crazy. And here we are 15 years later. They're now admitting and paying people for tracking students and young people all around town and harassing them to try to chase them out of these neighborhoods. The offenders, as they say. I was such an offender from a broken home, addicted to drugs, trying to kill pain, trying to get along in this life. I was such a fucking offender, don't you know? God, it was they're such heroes for like getting me off the streets for the times that they did. That's the other thing. See what happens. I get on here and I start back to my old ways and impulses and addictions. I bought a pipe so that I could have less toxins. And I go ahead and start sparking up a wrap that's been laying there for a couple days. Bad Paulie boy for healing. Need as least amount of toxins and poisons and extras as possible. Paul, you're one of the most inspired and driven YouTubers I know of. Well, when you don't have much other purpose and meaning in your life, at one point especially, because I pretty much started this with like nowhere to go, nowhere to be, and no one to do it with, it sort of becomes that, right? And then you have to check in with yourself and others along the way to be, as you say, inspired and driven to do what's right and what's true and what's necessary, not the same old. That maybe doesn't work as good for you as it could. Gang stalking is too real. They try to discredit it to schizos only. Yeah, well, a usual sort of deflection, obfuscation, projection game that's played in psychological warfare. Speaking of which, Ocean County Sheriff says he saw 50 drones coming off the ocean. And isn't it amazing? Like literally 4 years, 8 years, 16 years, there's these cycles where it's not only elections, but it's like financial collapses, biological weapons, world wars. It's like, it's so obvious that it's all organized somehow, some way on the lowest level or the highest level or both. Because it's like, yeah, slave coins going up and people are going to make a whole bunch of money. So we got to fuck that market up while on the back end promoting it. It's the craziest thing ever how this thing, whatever it is, plays both sides of every equation. It's beyond fascinating. But it's like, yeah, we're about this time 4 years ago. We were coming into a peaceful transference of presidential power. And then just out of nowhere, the fucking, Slavid-19 popped. And that market was then tanked. All the other financial markets were tanked. And we know what's happened since economically and inflation-wise. All organized once again. So seems that potentially, somehow, some way, someone or group of someones is going to continue what they've been doing. Surprise, surprise. Maybe we're going to have some new elements here. Maybe some drones from China or somewhere else, Russia, spraying down people with biologicals. And then they'll say, Putin did it. Everyone's getting sick. Putin did it. Yeah, it's not the chemtrails. It's not our people poisoning the water supply and the food supply. It's not the fact that now when you go to the store, every other item all of a sudden has bioengineered food ingredients in it, genetically modified. No, it's Putin did it. Just like they said, the Havana syndrome that some folks were saying was caused from the 5G towers. Nope, it's not the 5G towers. That's crazy conspiracy theory. Putin did it. Putin's got blimps that are flying around microwaving everyone. Okay. It's fascinating. It's like they come out in the open to let everyone know about New World Order and that it's real, then blame it on Putin. And it's like, who really cares at the end of the day? Because if we have land and we're healthy and we're faithful and we're trustworthy people and we're courageous when we need to be and we do the next right thing, do they really have any fucking power over us other than the power we give to them internally? And if they don't have that, what do they have exactly? Other than a bunch of free people on their hands who are going to be caring and loving and do the next right thing. Completely escaping without escaping their control grid, internally and externally. So, round of applause. I'm totally for it. Let's get some tests and challenges in here, just like with my health. Right? Because this is all for a bigger purpose, a bigger process and procedure. We're being formed for it, would seem, if we let it be. If not, I guess it can destroy us if we let it be. Let's have faith. Do the next right thing, see where it all goes, and I guess live life in the meantime.
Hogan shot this video last
the drones
night.
Are coming. Putin's
These
coming.
lights over his hometown in Davidsonville, just 25 miles from the nation's capital, as he pointed out. And then there's this.
I've never seen that. Wow, they just passed each other. Yeah, I've never seen that before.
New Jersey Senator Andy Kim shared this video of drones he shot yesterday. Federal authorities insist most of these sightings are actually legally manned aircraft. But Senator Kim says he checked a flight tracker app while capturing this video and that the devices he was capturing were not on it. The sightings are happening near LaGuardia Airport, too. Officials say they received unconfirmed reports of drone activity over that busy airport. As for numbers, the FBI says it's received more than 3,000 tips from the public about drone sightings going back to November 18th, all over New Jersey. Since then, there's been an average of 92 sightings per night and expanding across half a dozen states. In a joint statement, the FBI and Department of Homeland Security said, quote, "We have no evidence at this time that the reported drone sightings pose a national security or public safety threat, or that they have a foreign nexus." Lawmakers, however, aren't buying it and are pushing for answers and action. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and 2 other senators wrote a letter calling for a briefing with the FBI and Homeland Security. Well, in Connecticut, Senator Richard Blumenthal says the devices should be shot down if they can't be identified. And we've learned that House Speaker Mike Johnson did get a federal briefing on the sightings, as have Senate staffers in a few select offices. But other than that, there's been very little transparency. So what's going on? Is this some contagious mass hysteria? Or are people really seeing something that our government cannot identify? Our own Rich McHugh went out drone hunting in New Jersey. He did not come back empty-handed.
So right away, we're getting the vibe. I'm getting the vibe that, like, as usual, and they're even, it's more and more to the point where the conspiracy theories are now openly admitted, but then they're joked about. But then they're like, lawmakers and everyone. First of all, there's no lawmakers. We know that. Legislative slaves, corporate slaves, are like not buying it. Well, so now they're all of a sudden conspiracy theorists. I thought we were all crazy. And they're like, no, this is something. They're doing something. What are they doing? The same thing they're always doing. Flying things around, causing problems and harm, blaming it on other people, and then writing up codes to govern everybody with it. Hello. So Paulie Boy and the rest only have one way out. Stop following the statutes, policies, and codes. Live in faith, not in fear. Let them do whatever the fuck they want with this place. It's their world anyway. It ain't ours. We're here for a brief time and on to the next experience. Burn it the fuck down if that's what you're all into. Take on the karma for it too. I'm just here to focus on me and do what I need to be doing and make a change in me. And if I can influence others in the world, great. Other than that, I guess we all got a ticket to ride, so to speak, right? So yeah, as much as we change, we stay the same in the sense of the game hasn't changed, the rules haven't changed. A lot of folks' perspectives have changed on what they're going to do with themselves and with this life. And that's what it's all for, it would seem, right? To get you to get your head out of your ass and be what you were meant to be and surrender the rest. Thank you, Shaitan, dark forces, for teaching and testing and challenging in the way we don't want and like, which is how we learn best.
Rich, tell us what you saw.
Hi, Elizabeth. Well, I got to be honest here. When this story first came out a few weeks ago, as a resident of New Jersey, as a journalist, I didn't pay it much credence. I thought it would turn out to be a bunch of pranksters and this would all be over by now. The experience I had last night, however, changed the way I feel about this story completely. What I saw was more sophisticated than I ever imagined. Take a look.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 5 lights, 6 lights.
I didn't believe what I was seeing, but what was I seeing? We're here in Central Jersey. We've been looking for the past hour. I think we've seen about 40 or 50 of these drones. In fact, there's one over my shoulder right there. One after another, these drones appeared in the night sky. If you look real close, they look like fixed-wing aircraft, about 8 to 10 feet wide, colorful, white blinking lights.
That is not a plane.
Definitely not an airplane, but what was it? Hours earlier, I was invited to join the Ocean County Sheriff Department. They launched their own drones to see if they could intercept the mysterious aircraft New Jersey residents have been reporting in recent weeks. The department says these mystery drones evade detection because they don't give off heat like regular drones. Why do you think that is?
We don't know. It's just something that we haven't, it's not something that we've had our hands on. It's not something that we've experienced.
Something they hadn't experienced until now. One of their officers called 911 after seeing 50 of them come off the ocean.
Advised after we made contact with that officer that there were 50 that came off the ocean.
50?
50. That was my reaction also. There were 50 that were.
Yeah, just completely ignore, by the way, like 10 years ago, whatever it was, when Billy Gates did his famous, before he like pushed COVID and all the rest of it, did his famous 50 drones at the arena event game that he was playing, laughing and giggling, going, "We have drone mosquitoes and they're going to spread disease." Just kidding. So it's like, you know what they're up to. They're either going to false flag or real flag someone or something and blame it on somebody. We know that. You know, same thing over and over again. You know, they'll be coming 3 months from now saying, "Oh, we didn't realize what it was." They'll claim it's them now. You know, like they're saying in chat that they have all these different ideas of what it is. They're searching for radiation with the drones. Yeah, okay. They're planting radiation with the drones so they can give everyone cancer and then claim Putin did it. Putin's doing Havana syndrome and cancer and all of it.
We're coming off the ocean.
And this is a
Gotta
sworn
be.
officer.
A sworn officer, yes. We contacted state police, we contacted the FBI, we contacted the Coast Guard, at which point the Coast Guard went out with their boat and they reported seeing 13 following their boat. And then the Coast Guard also advised that they went over them about 300 feet and had a wingspan of about 8 feet.
Can I see one right here?
Did I see the same thing that officer saw? I'm still not sure. What I can show you is this video. What I can tell you is I've never seen anything like it before.
Wow.
In more than a month since these reports started, the federal government doesn't know what they are either.
What's your message to the White House?
My message: come to the Jersey Shore. I know it's wintertime, but come see what we see, and then, you know, maybe have a better appreciation for why our residents are concerned.
You know, the Ocean County Sheriff, that drone unit, they have an industrial grade drone. They put it up. They were tracking one of these drones, Elizabeth, and they said this thing easily evaded them, disappeared out of thin air. So, you know, to me, it's, if this is not our military, then it's even more scary, and we need answers, frankly.
Oh man,
right,
maybe we're gonna do
Rich,
some really fucking low level that a lot of us have been waiting for. Some really low level fucking alien invasion garbage. Because hasn't that been coming up too? Over the past week or so, they're now running in circles, proverbially, saying that the aliens, they're seeing aliens. They're it's so ridiculous. Oh my god. All right, let's go Canada. Let's go Canada because apparently post office is on strike. Penalties and millions are awaiting their bills. How can we possibly fuck up an economy? How can we possibly fuck up an economy or a world economy anymore? Well, we'll just strike the post offices. You gotta love it, right? You gotta love it when it's the people all doing this and allowing it. You know, because the generalized public, including us, whoever we are here today, just refuses to create any kind of infrastructure to do day-to-day meaningful tasks. It's like someone else will handle it. Someone else will create the edifice and the infrastructure and hire one of us poor, broke losers to carry the fucking mail from point A to point B. Imagine if we had a world where people actually took on trustworthy responsibilities and accountabilities because it's just the right thing to fucking do. Because, like, what else would we do, right? Like, imagine if we didn't have to incentivize just normal, habitual, communal behaviors and co-creation. It's really pathetic. That's why we need a great reset, because the average individual is so embarrassing and pathetic that without some promise of a currency, non-currency being given to them, they're not incentivized to do anything, seemingly, on a mass scale that's, like, meant to be done or needs to be done, or someone else will handle it. Someone else will do it. What's his name? What's that idiot's name over there? Turdo, right? Isn't he on his way out too? Turdo will handle it. We'll elect, right? We'll sit around and pay slave taxes and elect some effeminate male to run everything. That should shore everything up pretty quick, huh?
with the federal government signaling it's stepping in to end the weeks-long Canada Post strike. Mail delivery looks set to resume.
Have directed the Canada Industrial Relations Board to determine if they see the prospect of a negotiated settlement in the near term, the very near term.
But it may still take some time before the system catches up. And with bills coming due, several utility companies have indicated they're not willing to wait on payments, like Toronto Hydro, which tells Global News that standard late charges will still apply during the postal disruption. Around 15,000 customers may have signed up for the utility's paperless billing in the past month, but approximately 310,000 residential customers still receive paper bills. The utility says customers can still check their account balances and due dates by contacting its center. Checks can also be dropped off directly at Toronto Hydro's location on Carlton Street or on Commissioner Street. In Enbridge Gas's case, where 30% of its provincial customers are still relying on physical billing, the company says it recognizes its options for online and mobile payments may not be convenient for all customers and will ensure that late fees are waived where appropriate. Bill Van Gorder with the Canadian Association of Retired Persons says that option should be available for all seniors, especially those in remote areas.
Absolutely, there should be leniency to people who have difficulty if they can't use the mail.
And then there's the matter of Toronto's vacant home tax. The city says it sent out around 400,000 notices before the disruption, and most have yielded declarations. Once Postal Service resumes, it says hundreds of thousands of other reminders will be sent out well ahead of the due date at the end of April. Matthew Bingley.
Why is it oftentimes do I get I really do. They've said it. I have severe ADHD or I just check out when I'm being bullshitted and then I pull back because I go, I can never focus on what these people are actually saying beyond a certain point because it just doesn't make any sense. They're dropping stuff into like regular reports or like some hundreds of thousands of notice. Might have to play that back again because I just watched it and listened to it and I can't even comprehend what they just said. Hundreds of thousands of more notices for other things are going. What are they talking about? what kind of cryptic garbage is this? This is the bottom line here. Let me just show everyone the bottom line of who's running. It's us, right? We're actually running everything, but we don't know it. So this is who's actually running things. Hold on, I'm going to put it up here. This is what the world is actually being run by.
It's about the sharks. When you were frozen, they were put on the endangered species list. We tried to get some, but it would have taken months to clear up the red tape.
You know, I have one simple request, and that is to have sharks with frickin' laser beams attached to their heads. Now, evidently, my cycloptic colleague informs me that can't be done. Can you remind me?
Yeah, that's what's happening right now. Basically, they wonder why they make movies like this. They're not making movies like this because it's comedy. They're making comedy out of reality. There's literally a bunch of beta males sitting around somewhere in a penis-shaped contraption cave, right? Spaceship, basically running everyone else because they have no inspiration, empowerment, or co-creation. So we're gonna have the drones with the laser beams on them, JR says, to zap the people and blame it on aliens and see if we can use more code to run everyone's life. Fun. All right, where am I here? Canada. They're now threatening. Canada's apparently threatening. What does this mean? I don't even know what this means. These headlines are Ontario could cut off energy to U.S. if Trump imposes tariff. Are we getting energy from Canada that I'm not aware of a lot of stuff. I don't really need to be. I'm aware of too much as it is. I'm striving to become less aware as time goes on, just for my own health and safety. Government was right, turns out, maybe. Anyone know what that means? And anyone know why, seemingly, with all the issues that these common law nations are having, that they're choosing to argue and fight with each other right now? Almost as if they're being controlled from behind by something or someone, purposely to kind of create all this?
Mistake about it, as I mentioned to the Prime Minister, the rest of the premiers, we need to be ready. We need to be ready to fight. This fight is coming. 100%.
Who are we fighting? Who's fighting?
Or January 21st. We don't know what extent this fight's going to go to, but we need to line up everything that we're going to tariff.
This is literally, I've realized by watching the news, and it's all a holographic simulation and it's all relative, right? In the sense of these people are supposed to be intellectual, sophisticated, civilized policy makers, and they're literally like the folks on these panels. They're like, it's been a month, it's been a couple days. Who are we going to fight next? Let's fight who we're working with, right? It's literally like these panels. You know, you see it with me. Like, I start to pull back from everyone and everything and just do my broadcast because I just don't want to argue and fight. I don't want to interact with these stupid low-level people who have nothing else going on. And this is the government. This is the people who are supposed to be so intellectual and so in charge. They're like, we haven't fought in a while. We need to fight. Who are we going to fight? There's fighting happening now over energy. Why? It's like they don't know what to do, like to just live in peace, to be prosperous, to be co-creative. They just don't know what to do when they're living in that space. They're like, no, gotta fight, gotta argue, gotta like loop and cycle, project and reject. And if not energy, we're taking energy away. Tariffs.
The tariff, the money that's coming from these tariffs, don't go into a federal bank account sitting there somewhere. It needs to be immediately distributed right across the province equally, and we'll be able to support the companies, the factories, the workers for any issues that they're facing at the time. Chrystia Freeland's going to put a list together. We're going to put our list together, and I'm sure the other provinces will as well. But we will go to the full extent, depending how far this goes. We will go to the extent of cutting off their energy, going down to Michigan, going down to New York State, and over to Wisconsin. I don't want this to happen, but my number one job is to protect Ontario, Ontarians and Canadians as a whole. Since
they always do this gaslighting routine too. It's like they got you in a cage now, and they're like, we're going to let you out of the cage for a little bit, but it's just because we want you to stretch your legs. Then you're going to get back in there because we got to keep you safe. It's like, I feel perfectly fine. They're like, we need to keep Ontarians safe. How are we going to do that? By fighting with the United States and arguing over tariffs and withholding love, apparently. Withholding energy is really all this is. This is what folks do all day, every day. They withhold true care and love. They withhold the truth. And then they have to have an opponent to substantiate their meaningless, purposeless, valueless, lacking in principle existence. It's too co-creative, it's too prosperous, it's too peaceful. Just this one truth, one life, one way, one love, right? Get on these panels all day, every day. All right, let's hear a couple more seconds of this, couple more minutes of this guy telling us, like they always do, that they're going to protect us by doing harm to everyone. Because we're now in, because we're back at home. This is the tyranny mom used to settle for it, and not make, but settle for it.
Or sniffer dogs, if you want to call them that, patrol dogs. They're going to make sure they have more drones and more opportunities to cover the border. They have asked us, and I have agreed that we will support them. Again, temporarily, as long as it takes to get through this. But again, we emphasize the border is not our responsibility. Well, I think he's being a little more aggressive than he was in the past. And I say this respectfully to the president. He's a different type of cat, to say the least. Maybe I'm a different type of cat, but you know, I've never seen.
All right, we got some. I think you're all a bunch of fucking cowardly bitches, if you ask me. I think you all lie to everybody's face and then go do something else and then laugh and giggle about it and sell your own fucking soul and your own country and your own land and people right out down the river. That's what I keep seeing from all those different kind of cat. You know, Donnie's such a maverick. Can't you tell? In the last 4 years, he's so different than the status quo. Greetings, Jefferson, and a one named Dad. Apparently.
Yeah. What's up, Paul?
What's going on, man? What can I do for you? What can I offer you?
I just wanted to jump in when you started talking, man. You said about karma, you know. I just want to say thanks, man, because it's such a perspective what you were saying. I think that was a Tampa newscast, but to think back that far and say, hey, can you hear me good?
Yeah.
All right, cool, man. I got new earbuds. So it's cool to think about the perspective from that far back, right? But when you said about karma, I just wanted to call and say, what's up, man? Thank you so much for taking that perspective, because I actually feel somehow connected to that, to say, like, I'm actually more comfortable with let it all, even if the bad karma comes, even if whatever karma comes, because I'm more conditioned, sensitized to it now. It's just such a joke anymore, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's all an experience. We're going to have it either way, and then we get to choose in between. So
Yeah.
it's going to be whatever it's going to be. There's no point in resisting and making ourselves sick over any of this crap, which is all that it
Right,
amounts
man.
to.
That's a real
Like-
healthy statement right there, man. You said.
But then you can't go to the other side, right? Because my father will then sit somewhere and go, Paul, I've been telling you this for decades. Yeah, but you haven't been doing shit to change any of it. You can't just say, Paul, you don't worry about it, ignore it. Whatever's going to happen happens. You're going to make yourself sick, and then do nothing about making changes where changes are due. Right. So it's like, it's this and that. It's not this or that. And that's oftentimes the problem we have, or the solution that comes forth, is the realization that we're constantly deducing everything down to this or that, rather than recognizing how it's this and that. Right. It's just like with the Talcottian dynamics and all the rest of the folks with me on here. I had to play a hard line and become a bad guy to just put on record accountability and responsibility. They made me the bad guy. When I came into this, a loving, caring person at my core, I'm a loving, caring person. I just want to live and let live and be free and do what's right and surrender the rest. And they're like, no, it's only about love. We don't actually have to do anything or be anything. And I go, no, that's not the case. It's not what this is. It's this and that. Love and care is great. We need that. Without that, our existence isn't what it could be. And then what are you going to do with that? What are you going to create? Right. So again, it's like, we have to step back, because getting into this arena and interacting with these people has allowed me to force the conversation about accountability, responsibility, while not being accountable and responsible for myself and my own health and my life. Right. Because I'm here to like do something or be something, which we need, but not at the expense of our own care and our own health and doing what we need to do inside ourselves and on the ground. So it's love and care and accountability and responsibility. It's not one or the other, right?
Yeah, man. Good on you,
Paul,
Paul. Just want to say thanks, man.
I'm here, man. You don't have to thank me. I'm just doing what I know how to do, and updating as we go along. Reminding, I guess you could say, remember, because oftentimes this isn't really learning anything new. It's just remembering, like putting the members and the pieces back where they belong instead of where they've kind of been scattered to. So go ahead, Jefferson.
Paul, I was gonna say, what's up, brother? And shit, you're looking healthy, and I think the universe and it's kind of like when you take the herbs and when you take the steps, it's kind of like you're putting it on record, almost like on the Akashic record, that you want to get healthier and you don't necessarily want to die right now, And I think that actually leads to the healing too. Like it's this and that, like what you were saying. It's like, yeah, the herbs help, and it's also that you put out to the universe that you want to heal,
Yeah, I think that's part of it, is that I, for the longest time, have had a core aspect of my sub-psychology that was willing to accept death and even partially kill myself in order to live differently, if that makes sense. And it's like, I've redirected that and refocused that, but it's not as good as it could be, right? So yeah, I agree with you in the sense of the universe is basically asking me, like, do you actually want to live? Like, do you actually want to live life, or do you want to just destroy yourself to try to prove something here? Which is, again, the sub-psychology of a broken child. I'm going to harm myself or allow myself to be harmed and self-sabotage to prove what exactly? That I don't love me, that I don't care about me, that no one else did either? Well, that's not true, right? So, again, we have to watch for that, where self-sabotage can be very subtle and nuanced. And again, it's not like a whole bunch of folks haven't been telling me this whole time. It's just par for the course, right? through these processes and procedures and experiences, you kind of wall up, and it's not like we don't know why. I'm not making excuses for myself, but again, that's where true accountability, responsibility, and control over oneself and their life exists for. Because I've entertained for years now a bunch of deviant, toxic miscreants who don't want to do and be better. They want to argue with me about how I need to change me, when again, coming into this, I was everything I needed to be. Right? I was resonating with loving, caring people. I was resonating with patient people. I was resonating with righteous people. And then I allowed this place and these people and these energies to corrupt me and to forget about who I am at my core and what I'm doing here. Right? So the same people telling me how I think I'm better than everyone and all the rest of it, I just need to remove them like I did with my father and others in my life, so I can get back to who I am at my core and stop having people project onto me and presume onto me. And perceive me in a way without attempting to try to understand what's happening here. So yeah, it's like equivalent to the last 3 years I've been going to war every day and going, we're going to put accountability, responsibility on record, and I'm going to go past my fear. And then at some point you forget to live. You forget to care for yourself. You forget the other modality, which is peace and rest, to be able to, quote unquote, fight another day. You know, so I've had to shift gears. I've had to refocus, and I believe that it's necessary. And I'm probably going to learn more. If not learn, I'm probably going to remember more out of this going forward, and what I need to do and be and have be a part of my life and not, right? Like whatever is not nurturing to me and life-giving should not be in my experience. Like, why would I open myself up to a bunch of parasitic using folks who are not nurturing and co-creative to my experience? Just want to take my energy, my time, energy, and attention, and a narrative and a life experience I put forth, and twist it. You know, so more and more I've had to become more conscious and aware of what's life-giving versus life-draining, what's nurturing versus corrupting, right? What is wholeness versus toxicity. And yeah, it's been a long time coming, you know, and like the experiences show, I'm pretty much at that point in time, age-wise, chronologically, where this change has to happen. You know, you spend your first 35 or so years creating or accessing a sense of self to be able to do what the majority won't, and now you have to spend the second half of your life taming that, or potentially checking that, in order to care for yourself and not destroy yourself to be some misguided warrior. So, yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say on the drone thing, my little feeling on that is that they wanted to do one of those blue beam fake alien invasions, but then some random drones just came out of nowhere and fucked it all up. That's what I feel. And then on the post office thing, it's funny how you just ran that by us yesterday, talking about the post office and how it's originally supposed to be, there was just American post office, and I'm trying to look one up in Cali right now where I'm at, trying to see if I can go get some stuff done at an original post office. But and then Canadians are all of the common law nations are starting to really wake up. What if they all started sending in notices, and then now all of a sudden the post office is just, everyone's doing strikes, and now the post office isn't working. Funny.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's back to the, you know, they'll say Wizard maybe was on to, I never said Wizard wasn't on to something. My contention with Wizard has been the same for myself at times and everyone else, that you guys are abandoning the rest of reality to hyper focus on one aspect, which is detrimental to oneself and everyone else. It's the same thing that goes on in these schizophrenic truther circles. We're going to abandon like working and living and having relationships to count numbers and planet watch and fixate and obsess. It's like, yeah, it's this and that once again. So I never claimed Wizard was off on some of the things he put forth. I claim that he abandoned the rest of his life, purpose and meaning, just like I allowed myself to do here, to focus on certain aspects of self or creation and specialize, and then indirectly deny the rest of our experience. So this is pretty simple if you want to boil it down. There was an original structure here that we called government. It's now been taken over by corporate service providers claiming to be government, and they're interfering with all the original status and standing and presentments of the people, one of them being the post office. It's just a cold war. is all that's happening right now, whether it's inside of myself and other selves or out on the world stage. We're jostling for position of how we're going to live moving forward. Are we going to live free and righteously and do what's true and what's right, or are we going to have the corporation, the dead speaker, the dead aspect of self running everything, the toxified aspect of self running everything from some subconscious perspective, just uploaded in there? Right. So yeah, it's happening inside of self, and it's happening in every self, and it's happening worldwide and nationwide. And then these people want to hyper focus on elections and all the rest of it. These are just effects of a core cause. And the core cause is the individual asking itself, once again, how are we going to run ourselves in our life? What is the most beneficial? What's the most productive? What's the most co-creative and healthy? Right. And I guess you have half of the beingness saying, let's fight, let's war, let's argue, let's do all this like we've always done. And then the other side going, peace is available. But the problem is, how are we going to have peace and care be available if folks on the ground are not going to pick up the slack and do what's necessary? It's a pipe dream at best. At worst, it's our undoing and delusion and denial. So, yeah, man, I don't see any separation after a certain point in my experience between self and every other self, and the dynamics of experiencing self and choosing, and the dynamics of a macro world stage experiencing itself and choosing. You know, it's all kind of one and the same. So again, we get a choice. The solution remains the same as far as I can tell. Just be a living example of a co-creative, perceptive, free but caring individual, if you will, for lack of a better term. That will then, like you just said with me, put out the energy to the universe that we no longer need this. It's not that it's not going to happen. We're not going to be tested and challenged and have to transmute and transcend at times, but not in the way that it's come forth, I suspect. Right. So yeah, we're having to just go on record now on all levels, you know, deciding that we're going to truly live, we're going to live right, and we're going to abandon all the toxified connections and contraptions that interfere with our actual development and co-creation. So yeah, if you're wondering why it's been rather quiet around here, that's one of the reasons. It's not me necessarily ignoring or rejecting or leaving anyone behind. It's recognizing that if I can't care for myself, who can I care for? If I can't help myself, who can I help? If I can't heal my body, I got no business even coming on here and talking to anybody. It's ridiculous. See, I'm aware of my own hypocrisies and how it has to change in order for me to be what folks have claimed me to be. How can I be an influencer and a leader if I can't influence myself and lead myself to do what I need to do for me and therefore everyone else? So yeah, going forward, you're going to see a lot less activity here. I'm not going to be yelling and screaming. I'm not going to be entertaining and suffering a bunch of unaccountable, irresponsible fools who've already pretty much destroyed themselves in their own life. I was on an upswing when I came into this place. I'm doing better than ever. And I open a door up to a bunch of folks who've already destroyed their own bodies and their own lives, financially, relationship-wise, all the rest of it. I must be insane. I must have a subconscious loser failure aspect to me that identifies with the problem. The same thing I've called out in everyone else rather than the solution. Well, guess what? Paulie learned slow, but at least he learns. Took me 2.5 years, and now I'm stating once again, as I have in the past, I'm done, if not forever, for the time being. I can't do it. Can't do it anymore. I have to be available for myself and maybe a few other folks who actually want to do and be something here. The rest of you can get fucked in the most loving and caring way possible, right? Just not by me. You're not going to fuck me and I'm not fucking you. I'm done with the game, right? So it's like, we don't even need to interact here, really. We all know what we need to be doing. We all know the next right thing. We all know what prosperity and true care and love looks and feels like. If we don't, well, then there are examples of it. What the fuck do we need to talk about? At the end of the day, I'm coming to a point like what's his name did with his writings where I go, I don't even know if I have anything I've ever needed to say or do here. Really? You know, like on the objective level, it's like for me, I'm doing this for me. I have to live for me. I have to be the person I need to be for me. What is my place for everyone else other than to be an example of that or a failure of that? Just like everyone else in these venues.
Yeah.
I got to thank some folks here real quick. Julian Barbary says, thank you, Paul. Rainier K, healing, prosperity, and blessings. And Alan Vance. Hey, Paul, you run best truth broadcast to date. Keep her lit. Well, that's subjective. You're entitled to your opinion, but that's completely subjective. Go ahead.
Oh, shit. So that's good. I'm glad to hear all that for real. And before that saga happens, I wanted to ask a few questions because I had a feeling it might come to that, you know, what you were just talking about, taking some time to yourself like you deserve. Few things I've been wanting to ask you. One of the things is like deed of reconveyance, if you could just touch on that real quick. And then also from what I've been gathering, watching every day, it seems more like it's standing on business, being able to write in a concise way and get your point across to the court, which is your court. So that's a little too deep to be touching on right now. But yeah, can you touch on deed of reconveyance?
Yeah, I mean, this is essentially a process that the Nationals have, I guess, expedited or simplified. Not as much as I'd like, because ultimately these are all just claims. People are just they're just having these other people put on record who and what they are, what the name is, the person, you know, the account, versus their beingness, you know, benefits and privileges versus rights, the corporate capacity versus the common law capacity. So I don't see any necessity, and again, maybe that's me getting comfortable and wanting to overly simplify it, but I don't see even the need to use these terms. I don't even see the need, other than to put it on records with someone somewhere to cover your bases, to even tell these people any of that. I don't go into court and tell them that's an all caps person. It's not me. It's like, I could be aware of that, but I don't need to go there. You know,
Yeah.
like, I'm the man in the room. I have a claim on record. You know, this is essentially my court. If I have a claim on record and there's no one on the other side, I win by default. I don't need to bring them into the lore and the because then it just opens them up to say they don't even know what. Oftentimes, a lot of these people don't believe or even know completely what's happening. They you know, they're just as likely to say, Paulie boy, we don't really know what this all is. We're just studying it just like you and doing our profession. You know, they argue with each other. That's the thing folks don't get. These administrators are arguing with each other at lunch about licenses, about registrations, about the persons. They don't even have it completely understood. So half of them will say, we know what you're doing because you're right. This is a person, and they've obfuscated your rights and common law with corporate privileges and a capitis diminutio maxima persona, a mask you can wear that diminishes your capacity to move this court and be the highest thing on the land next to God. And the other half will say, that's sob sit mumbo jumbo. You're here. This is why they play this game at court. Some of them, they don't play a game. They're playing into your game because they go, are you the person? Are you the man? What are you? Because it's not going to matter here today. I'm going to get you in jurisdiction for your lack of understanding of self and what the law is. I'll bet on it. And 9 out of 10 times, they're absolutely right. These people don't know how to stand at court. They don't know how to make a claim. They don't know how to rebut the presumptions or to just not interact with the other side and bring life to it. I'm not going to bring life to a bunch of state actors. I'm just going to cut them off. There's a disembodied voice. Who's that? Are they going to swear in? No, then they got to go. I don't need to start breaking down. Well, that's the people who's a person who's saying he's the people. I'm a people who you're saying is a person. I know all that. I see the game. I don't need to bring it up there because then it just challenges them in a way that doesn't need to happen. And it just opens the door for you to make one of the highlight reels for them to say, you're a sovereign citizen, he, ha, ha, as if it matters, them laughing at everyone while they're completely enslaved and powerless.
It's more of a knowing that is conveyed through your statement that you write down and the judge ends up with. You would go to the head court clerk with that written statement, correct? And then once that gets to the judge, you show up to whatever you got to show up to. And now that written statement that should be pretty concise conveys that you're a natural man on the land, that you go by.
I don't even use any of that. I don't need to get into natural. You see me, right? I'm here. I'm a man. Well, I don't need to put any words before or after that. They all know what I'm talking about. I'm a man. I have rights from God. Foundation of the law, this land and pretty much every land. You guys are here. I've been buying for the people. What are we going to do? Where are we going with this?
Do you write down, this is my court, this is Laporta court? Do you write that?
I told you guys that it's as simple as possible. On the defensive, quote unquote, side, when I'm charged with something, it's you go to the box for 2 or 3 days. We're going to see an administrator. They're going to ask me to come back. I'm going to tell them I may or may not present. If I feel like I'm going to get a fair and equitable hearing, then I will present at their venue. And it's going to be real simple and straight to the point. These people at this date interfered with my rights and property for some belief. Is there any man or woman who's going to come forward and make a claim verified and valid on record that I caused loss, injury, or harm, or broke the law? No. But you did break the law interfering with a man's rights for policy. That's the law of this land. It's not my problem that they don't know the difference of status and standing of individual on the ground, that they don't take the notices, that I know that something is on my record because no one will touch me anymore. The cops all arrest me and they bring me to the place and no one wants to take me in. No one wants to hold me. They all keep throwing me out. The cops don't care. They don't know, but it's on record somewhere. They've been given notice and they know if they play with Paulie Boy, they're getting sued, and they have no status and standing or interest in these matters till I breach the peace, direct threat to the public. The closest they had was the last 2 months ago, but they couldn't get that done because I was on private property. Even if it wasn't my property, I was shooting into the back of the hillside. You can't claim breach of the peace or direct threat to the public. And there's no other man or woman who's ever going to show up on the other side. So by default, I now retain the control of the court. I know that, and I don't need to even say it. They know that. So it's very simple. I'm not going to argue with you. Someone somewhere had a belief. I don't even put that down. But some men and women, if I have their names or not, on this date interfere with my property and rights. If there is no man or woman who's going to come forward with a claim that I've caused loss, injury, or harm, or owe a debt, then I require my person and property to be restored to its original location and condition. Nothing more, nothing less. That's all I put down, and I don't even file it in their case because it's their case. It's not mine. I bring my own case and run it parallel if that's the case. I just need to give the administrator lawful notice. I don't need to file into their, correspondence. I tell the court clerk, will you hand this to the administrator, please? Do you want me to file it? No, that's not my case. I'm not filing into their case. They have all their crap in there that they believe, just the way that they like it. I'm just going to give notice to the administrator through correspondence of who and what I am and what I'm not. Now he's been made aware. Now he can't legitimately, lawfully steamroll me and claim that some state actor is going to use code to interfere with my rights. He's already been given lawful notice. So then it becomes he's going to get added to a claim and I'm going to sue him or her at that point. There's no boundaries on this. I'm the most powerful being in that room with the truth of God. You are all state actors. If you interfere with my rights, I'm going to put you all on a claim and I'm going to hold you liable somewhere, somehow. Bet on it. That's it. And I don't even put any of that down because they already know that. What is Paulie Boy doing when he's giving notice that there's no one on the other side and that he will pay if someone shows up with a valid claim? He's already setting the standard and the procedure that if no one does show up, we're liable criminally and financially. They know that. I don't have to threaten them. I don't even have to give them lawful notice of that.
Yeah, it's conveyed. So do you, at the beginning or the end of that message, do you put, I am Paul of the Laporta family at all?
I will sign it and I will put under the signature, Paul of the Laporta family, ambassador of God or honorable man.
Okay, wait, can you repeat that? And I didn't know you would put the actual signature too. Okay. Can you repeat that one more time?
Yeah, you're just basically, you're creating essentially in their world a securitized instrument for them to get their payment. They need some, just like the money, right? Go pull out a dollar bill or any bill. It's got a signature on it. It's a securitized instrument. There's no inherent value to that paper. It only has value because someone put a signature on it. So I'm essentially creating, not only am I creating a common law claim in their corporate world, I'm creating a securitized instrument. They can file that and get all their taxpayer money and all the rest of it that they need to run their operation. What they can't do is interfere with my rights.
So it's Paul of the Laporta family. Sorry to cut you off. So it's Paul of the Laporta family, colon, which that connects with stuff I've learned from a clan mother who talks about that up in Canada, and she operates in common law, Karen McDonald. But yeah, so the colon's great, and then you put ambassador of God or something of that sort.
Essentially, yeah, just to communicate to them that in my world or in the world, there's something above and beyond them and their codes. And that's what I'm here doing. It doesn't mean I'm perfect by any means. Doesn't mean I don't make mistakes. I'm here to communicate with that idea or that force and to live that. You know, I'm not an ambassador for, I'm not a co-creator, an ambassador for anything else having to do with their corporate procedures.
No, I am that I am in the message, or could that go after the colon? I am that I am. I get what you're saying. I'm just, if I was going to do it my way, I would maybe put colon.
Yeah, I mean, you know, at the end of the day, like, does it really matter? You know, I mean, like, that's part of our kind of sentiment or how we want to title or give status and standing for who we believe ourselves to be. But what does it matter? It's like like the administrator coming out and going, I'm honorable such and such. Well, we're going to find that out. You know, like you claiming that about you isn't exactly something new. Everyone will claim, like I do, I'm the god of all media, right? It's a bit, you know? So just like there being a judge is a bit. They're there to make a judgment. They can call themselves whatever they want. We're going to find out through the proper process and procedure who's who and what's what. You know? So, I mean, like realistically, as crazy as it sounds, you know, I fashion myself a pretty good communicator at this point and writer. So I have a hard time believing anybody's ever going to look at me, listen to me and what I have to write and think that I'm crazy. You know, if anything, they're going to say he's crazy like a fox. He understands this whole system and he's about to run this place. So, you know, that's all I've ever gotten, because I don't stand up there like the people on A&E and say a bunch of shit together that makes no sense and makes you sound retarded, nor do I proclaim to be competent in their system. I don't need to be.
What a blasphemy.
Again, we're back to what was spoken yesterday. I'm an idiot. I'm outside of their culture and society, always have been. I've never gotten along with them and their procedure. They've never wanted me in their institutions. Why would that change at court or jail or anything else? They don't want someone like me there. It's not for me. They didn't want someone like me at Public School. They used to chase me to come back there, but they didn't want me there because when I'd be there, I'd ask questions. I would form my own thoughts and understandings and communicate that. They didn't like that. They don't want that. So at some point I realized, oh, I see what this is. I'm outside of you guys' culture and society of lying to yourselves and everyone all day, every day. I must be part of some other culture and society. Lo and behold, I see what that is now. It's the difference between a society run by fear and a society run by faith. So
now, I was thinking I wanted to write idiot that I'm an idiot somewhere in my message if I were to ever convey. What's your thoughts on that?
I would totally believe that. I would accept that. You come into court and say you're an idiot out front, I totally believe you. I'm buying it.
I'm free right now, baby, for a reason.
But, yeah, listen, man, again, that's a faithful being. Like he was talking about yesterday, they get you with your pride and your ego. Oh, you're not competent. Yes, I am. Great. You're competent. That means you understand legal procedure and legalese. It means you're part of our society. Now we're going to slave you. Right? Oh, you're an idiot. No, I'm not. Great. So you're part of our society and our culture. We're going to slave you. Instead of you just saying, like I do, the bit non-bit, where I'm God of all media, but I'm Shrek on the you know, outskirts of town. It's like a little bit of this and that. You know, it's bit non-bit. So Shrek had God in him. He wasn't received well by the townspeople, but he was the one that they would go to when it was time to solve a problem, or when the princess had to be saved, or a jackass had to be talked to, right? So it's the same dynamic, right? There's even bears a resemblance, I would say. They used to tell me, the black people at school, that I look like Shrek. Okay, whatever. You know, the black women love me, so does it matter? Do I care if I look like Shrek? If black woman wants to suck my dick? No, I don't.
Everyone loves Shrek, bro.
Right. Shrek gets to fuck the princess in the end, even though he's Shrek. He also gets to be Shrek. So it's like a win-win. How do I lose in that?
Yeah, you know.
You know?
Hell yeah, man. Would you sign underneath Paul Laporta family, ambassador of God, that in cursive? That was my last question.
Pretty much that's the last 3 to 5 claims that I made. I just put of the Laporta family and then semicolon or colon and ambassador of God. You know, but
amen to that, brother. I like it. I'm right. And that's not a pamphlet for all you slaves out there. That's his way. And if
Yeah, I
you
mean,
vibe
again,
with
I'm not the guy who woke up one day and said, I'm going to create a ministry to be known. I just kind of happened. So at this point, I'm like begrudgingly having to communicate that I'm a minister to them, and which then opens up a different door. Like, so you're going to keep a minister who's ambassador for God and the truth in these times, political prisoner? Okay. It's been done before. It'll be done again. But do you really want that? Like, I'm not here for drugs. I'm not here for this. I'm here for rights and freedom, principles, spiritual faith, and God. So I don't belong here. It's time to turn me out, turn me loose back to the governance, which is self and God. They have no place for me. It's just, it's above and beyond what they're there to do. They're there for the worldly slaves who think they're going to do whatever they want, cause loss, injury, and harm, and not follow the code. They're not here for me because I can govern myself at this point. They see my past history and they understand that I know the law. So if anything, them playing with me now at this point is going to get them governed, not me. I got the truth and God on my side. I got the law on my side. They all know it. If they didn't, you wouldn't be listening to me right now. I'd be gone. You know, why is he free? Like, you wouldn't hear of me. You wouldn't know of me. So if I didn't have the juice and have the goods in the truth under God and the law of this land, I wouldn't be here right now, I suspect. Can't prove it.
Yeah, I was saying earlier that school thing yesterday about how it's basically just peer pressure / brainwashing, getting you to be like, I'm not an idiot. I'm competent. It's like, dude, that goes so deep, bro. Like that, when that clicked for me, I was like, all right, I know what I'm writing in my statement. I'm definitely mentioning how I'm an idiot, and I don't know what the fuck we.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the last couple claims I've made beyond that one or two lines, I seem to remember putting something along the lines of I'm not a member, at least at one point, I'm not a member of the legal society, nor do I understand legalese. You know, so it's the same kind of statement as saying I'm not a part of your culture and society. It's the same reason I don't show up, just like all the slave tards like to show up to court dressed in a 3-piece suit, so you can communicate to them indirectly. Most communication's indirect. So when they see me and I smell like reefer and I'm in a black t-shirt and camo shorts and I speak the way that I do and I know the law, that he's not one of us. We can't. It'd be like saying, you know, you're going to go into a Muslim village dressed up with a head garb and a Muslim. Well, then they're going to hold you to Muslim beliefs. If I stroll in like me, they're going to go, we don't like him, but we can't really hold him to our society and culture. He's not one of us.
Right. Yeah. He's not a slave. He doesn't live in cities. He doesn't have cologne on. He doesn't have a
right. And that's why the Moors at times are successful, because A, they're black. So it's easy for them to point and say, I'm not one of you. Look around the room. Which one of these things is different from the other? And I got a big goofy red hat on and a shawl and all the rest of it. As goofy as it looks and seems, it works because it allows them to make a differentiation between a culture and society that they're part of and one they're not. And again, it's typically not proper process and procedure to hold people outside of your culture and society liable to your codes and ethics. It's just not good law.
One of the best that I've seen of Karl Lentz was when he was talking about two, I think, Iranian nationals that he was representing, and they were about to say, we're not idiots in the middle of the courtroom. And he was like, you know what, get the hell out of the courtroom, you two. Let me finish this up, because you guys are about to ruin it all. The whole premise.
Right. The point is that you can't keep looking for little catchwords and phrases that you think are going to be end all be all, because they're going to smell it on you and they're going to call your bluff. You have to have a certain core spiritual understanding and application that is unwavering. They have to sense it on you, right? It's like saying you're going to go into a certain neighborhood and you're going to learn the blood lingo and try to talk it to them, and they're going to go, you ain't one of us, and you think you're going to do this, and we're going to really test you now and challenge you. They got to feel it coming off you before they ever hear it, and then put the two together, right? If you try to go in and use the Karl Lentz rap or other raps, like you know, they're all pretty similar. If you go in there and you try to use it and they smell on you that you're using it to get out of something and that you're not in this for the long haul, they're going to go, oh, great, you're an idiot. Well, sit down, idiot. We got a host of them coming in. You know, we got 10 idiots behind you who I'm going to slave up today. You You know?
Yeah,
So
it's a
if they
spirit.
detect that you are trying to play a card to get out of something rather than go deeper into a lifestyle that you're authentically living and convicted on, they're going to test you and challenge you. They're going to slave you.
Yeah, beyond
That's
the
the
word
game.
idiot, beyond that word, Karl Lentz was like, no, this is because you are not a part of, you're not like them, you know? You're not like them. You're from a different country. You have different customs. And they almost were fighting with Karl Lentz, and he was just like, dude, get the hell out of the courtroom, bro. You guys are going to ruin it. They almost got in a fight. I don't know if you've seen that one, but it's a good one.
Yeah, pretty much heard them all.
Yeah. Thanks,
All
man.
right, what
I
else,
feel
Jefferson?
that I wanted to pop in. I had a feeling you'd be doing less, and I wanted to run by my statement that I might be having to write someday to you as like it feels like a final exam at your class, bro. And I'm just popping in to say hello. You look healthy, bro. Keep doing that. The universe is responding, and Godspeed, brother.
Thank you, sir.
I'm gonna be watching. I might chime in again.
All right, I'm going to throw you out because I'm going to get to the to the clip for a bit, and I'm going to sign off.
Much love, bro.
Right. All right, so let's go over since we pretty much are pigeonholed here in typecast. It gives me something to talk about, right? And it's important, I would say. So yeah, since we're talking about it already, I'll go to the Karl Lentz clips Q&A, and then I'm gonna head on out of here. We're very much adopting a Talcottian spirit here, as the man just said. Do less, get more. See how that works out. All right, let's try this one out.
Incompetent just means that you don't understand exactly what is going on at this time, and that you don't believe that you're going to be held liable or that you're bound to the rules of court at this time because you're not competent to provide a proper answer at this time. And they can't make an incompetent person answer when you admitted that you're incompetent. Being incompetent is not a bad thing. Being incompetent is a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
That's why, like, women and children for thousands of years were never held liable for their acts. The husband had to. The husband meant a bond servant. So being a husband meant that you were putting up the bond for all the crazy shit. Like if you ever watched I Love Lucy, Ricky Ricardo was a bond servant. So every kind of escapade, crazy bullshit nonsense Lucy was getting into, he was being held liable. I don't know if you ever watched I Love Lucy over there in England. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Okay, it's a comedy show. And there's this screwball crazy redhead, and Ricky Ricardo was the bongo player, poor husband, that every time Lucy wanted to do something, she wanted to start her own business, she wanted to get a freaking job, she wanted to learn how to drive a car, she wanted to dabble in real estate, whatever the hell she was getting into, whatever crazy scheme that she had to get money and get rich quick or be an independent, strong woman or free from a Cuban bongo player husband. Every time at every show that only lasted 30 minutes, every time she fucked up somehow, poor Ricky was held liable for paying for all her debts and all her problems that she got into. And at the end of almost every episode, Ricky would take Lucy, put her over his fucking lap, and he'd spank the shit out of her. And she'd be kicking and squealing at the end of the show, and everybody get a good laugh. I mean, you can't do that anymore. In this country, you can't say, hey, lady, you screwed up my life. You made me, you just wrecked, you made me pay $500 in damages. Get over here so I, put you on my knee and pop your ass. So you learn your lesson so you don't do it again. Because this is the way it's been for thousands of years. They've been incompetent. Children and women were being incompetent. So it was so funny back in the 70s when I went to school. Like I said, I got kicked out of a sociology class in less than 3 days because with the very first thing that poor sociology, like professor guy opened up the class with, he was like 60, 70 years old, pure communist guy. He says men and women are equal. And I just started going, Pfft. And then and all the girls like booed and hissed me. I said, what? Are you kidding? Do you believe in this guy's nonsense? And they were like, well, yes, we're equal. I said, do you realize you could get away with murder and you could just say it was that time of the month? Do you realize you could do whatever you could embezzle funds and just say, well, I wanted a new hat? Do you realize you could get away with just about any wrong and walk away from it scot-free, blaming it on your dad, blaming it on your husband? I said, you have no idea that you're not being held liable for anything you do wrong because you're incompetent, that you don't know law. The only thing you women could be held liable for is that you're supposed to cook dinner, iron clothes, and raise babies, because technically the society believes that that's all that you're competent in. So, but if you want to be held liable for every other act, like if you want to be held liable for all the acts that a man does, oh, well, God bless you. You're crazy. Because all that's going to happen is the courts are going to get jurisdiction and control authority over you women, and they're going to make your life holy hell, just like they make men's lives holy hell. Because husband means bondservant. You want to be a bondservant? You want to put up whatever you got for doing wrong or acts of wrongs for others? Oh, you're out of your mind. So funny, man. By the third day, almost all the kids in the class had their desk. I sat in the last seat, last row, so I could look out the window. They all turned their desk and they were taking notes from me. And that poor little I remember his last name was Scalia. I'm sure he's dead by now. I remember on the first day he tried to block the door so I couldn't leave the classroom. He wanted to talk to me. The second day he actually touched me and I was able to shimmy around him and leave. The third day, this little Irish guy stepped on my shoes so I couldn't. He knew I wouldn't hit an old man. So he stepped on my shoes and said, "Hey, look, I got an agenda. I got a curriculum I got to instill and indoctrinate these kids with." He says, "You're really screwing up my program here." He says, "Look, I'll give you an A, but don't ever come back to my class." He says, you're totally effing up my ability to teach these people what I got to teach them." So I took the A and I never went back. But I'm telling you, I knew this baloney since 1979, 1980 when that guy pulled that stunt on me. It's common sense. What I do is common sense because, like I said, thank God my dad didn't read or write English, and you're saying your dad doesn't read or write English as well. So he has to deal on what he knows is common sense. So what I have to tell people, if they're good, if they have common sense, this stuff hits them like lightning. They're like, "Oh yeah, this all makes sense."
But how do I get rights of audience on behalf of my father? Because I've tried lots of different avenues, but it didn't quite work.
That's why you're going to move into Queen's Bench. That's why you're going to move into Queen's Bench, and you're going to act as his next friend.
And as a what friend?
Next, N-E-X-T, his next friend.
Next, N-E-X-T, friend.
You could Google that if you want to, because that's what you do to help the incompetent, the disabled, or the idiots. And idiots is a wonderful thing to be called too. Believe me. And when the state came to me and tried to hand me a contract, I said, "Look at me, man. I am an idiot. Any state policy, codes, regulations, or policies that you're trying to enforce upon me, I am an utter idiot." Because idiot means that I can't be held liable, I can't be bound, and I'm not entering into this contract. I'm not under your jurisdiction, control, authority. When you're an idiot, you can't contract with an idiot. It can't be done.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's illegal, and it's illegal, unlawful, and unethical. You can't do it.
That's quite interesting.
You can't do it. It's like say somebody's on their deathbed, or somebody is on just got into a car accident, or somebody just waking up from a coma, or somebody whatever, and you just put a contract in front of them and tell them to sign it.
Not mentally sane.
You can't do that. You can't take advantage of the incompetent. You can't take advantage of a woman or a child. You can't take advantage of an idiot. You can't do it. You can't capitalize on them. You can't. Because that's what capitalize means, to take advantage over somebody less fortunate. You can't capitalize. Yes, this is a capitalist country. Yes, but you still have to have certain rules and ethics that you got to live by. You can't take candy out of a baby's mouth. You can't do that.
Yeah.
Just because the baby can't fight back, it isn't, the rule of the fittest. It isn't a jungle out here. I'd love to go back up to Canada and have like a U.S. passport, but if they say passport, let's go, passport what? It's like, do you have a passport? It's like, what? What do you mean, do I have a passport? And then just say to them, do you require of me, a man, to cross over here to over there, and I require a piece of paper? So I'd hold the Border Patrol guy liable as a man, denying access to crossing over a piece of land, going from one piece to another piece.
Actually, you've just mentioned an important point there. As a man, so you ask his name, for instance, and he says, "My name's Officer 38, and you say, no, I'm not asking for your office badge number. I'm asking for your name. And then they only give you Mr. Smith, and they refuse to give the beginning part.
Right. I just say, okay,
Are
Bob.
you happy with that?
Well, that's what I said. Say, okay, Bob. And I just call him Bob.
Oh, Bob.
You know, just, yeah, say, hey, Bob. You know, say, are you telling me I can't go from this part of the road to that part of the road without a piece of paper? Are you saying I can't go past this gate? Are you telling me that you're going to interfere with my right to go as a man, to go from this part on planet Earth to this point on planet Earth? So like I said to my sister, I said I was going to do that. I was going to go up to Canada when I was up in Indiana because I wasn't that far away from Canada. And I said to her, but I had a rental car. I said what I would have had to do was like take a taxi over the border or walk across the border and then try to walk back across the United States border. You know, I didn't want to lose the rental car on the Canadian side and just say, well, you know, this guy gave us a hard time, so we locked him up and da-da-da-da. And then just have a nice big lawsuit going on. It's like, okay, you telling me as a man that that I'm limited to my right to travel on planet Earth because I don't have a piece of paper? Who's saying I need a piece of paper? Well, Department of Homeland Security. Oh, is that Mr. or Mrs. Department of Homeland Security? Is that a man or a woman? It's like, well, it's an agency. Oh, so you're telling me in a common law land that DHS is going to appear in court, put its hand on the Bible, and swear that I, as a man, cannot go from point A to point B? Oh, I'm going to love to see DHS appear in court. That's going to be lovely. I'll pay to see that. It's like, well, no, an attorney can't make a claim that I can't go. Only the plaintiff must appear and say that I can't go from point A to point B because I'm going to cause it harm or her harm or him harm. I'm not causing DHS harm. Who in DHS am I causing harm? Well, nobody. Who's incurring those financial loss? Well, nobody. Oh, so you're telling me like an insurance company created this Homeland Security policy to protect any kind of bombings to some maybe building in which they're sure from falling down. So you're saying another insurance company policy is restricting my travel. Well, yes, the insurance companies wrote Obamacare for your benefit and for insurance companies' benefit, and they're going to do it for their benefit so no more buildings get blown up. We're going to make it harder and harder to get an insurance company to have to pay out anything.
Yeah.
So we're going to require all you people to have paperwork and go through metal detectors and go through body scans and cavity searches. So the insurance companies don't have to pay out anymore. It's like, oh, isn't that lovely? Well, I'm going to have to say opt out and say I'm a man, and I'm going to have to opt out. And it's that simple. They can't force a man to comply. You can just opt out. It's like, well, I wish to opt out. They do that at airports over here. They go, I wish to opt out. And then when you opt out, they try to make your life holy hell by touching you and stuff like that. Say, if you touch me, if you trespass upon my property, I'm going to hold you liable. But see, nobody just says something simple like that. Now, do you wish to trespass upon my property? Go ahead and touch me and find out what happens. They'll say, is that a threat? No, I just gave you fair warning. I'm going to hold you liable for damage. So go ahead and trespass. You wish to trespass? I'm telling you, you're trespassing. Go ahead and do it. You want to do it?
Actually, that brings up another point. Basically, this enforcement officer that came to our land, I wrote a letter to him and said, don't come to our land again. And I said, you know, I'm going to hold you liable for any trespass. And he kept coming a few times after that with his colleagues and this, that, and the other.
Oh, that's because you didn't hand him a bill. You didn't say, hey, look, if you trespass upon my...
What I did was I wrote a bill to his home address, and then the council. He spoke to the council, and the council applied an injunction on me because he felt threatened.
Yeah, because you should invite him onto your land. You should invite everybody to that. They're having a Rolling Stone concert on your land, and there's going to be an admission fee.
An admin fee. Oh, okay.
You should have invited them. Please appear.
Oh, so please appear and discuss why you think that you...
If you wish to appear, you know, there's going to be an admission fee. That way he could say, well, no, there's no admission fee. Say, hey, the Rolling Stones are going to appear here. You want to be here the same time they're here? It's going to be an admission fee. He's like, you want to be here the same time I'm here? It's going to be an admission fee.
I did say to them a ridiculous fee, like $100,000, £100,000.
Yeah, I'd make it reasonable. I
did say to him in the invoice that if he'd make an early payment, that I'd accept $10,000.
Yeah, you could do that. You could say you make a payment plan and get a coupon book.
But then the thing was is that they applied an injunction against us because they felt I'm threatened. So do you think that was just delayed?
If you appear before tea time, man, you'll get 10% discount. I mean, you like I said, they love when you're funny. They actually enjoy it, man. Because they realize what you're doing, and they realize
messing with them. Yeah.
They realize what you're doing, and they realize that you see the absurdity in it.
Neighbor across the street, dog comes over, takes crap on my lawn. I go next door, say, hey, stop doing that. Blah. I put him on notice. Okay, all right. He keeps doing it. So then I send him a letter. How do you do? All right. Say, hey, if it happens again, you owe me $5,000. All right. He throws it in the garbage. Okay. I do it through certified mail. Okay, and I sign it. All right. Does it again. I said, look, put him on notice. So you got 3 pieces of paper in 60 days, right? Okay.
That's a hell of a swell guy. That's a swell guy to pick up 60 days worth of poop.
Well, okay. Well, we could accelerate that, but I'm just trying to make a point. All right. But I get them in brief.
The first time you tell somebody they did wrong, they will compensate you immediately.
They will not. Come on.
Okay. Well, then if they don't, you hand them the bill, and then you immediately.
How do you collect your bill, Karl?
Then you take them
to court. How do you do it?
Then you take them to court.
Tell me how you do it.
Then you take them to court and you sue them.
Yeah, that's my point. My point is, you get them in first.
If somebody did me wrong, you think, like I said, somebody stole my car and I got a kid in the backseat. You think I'm going to send them 3 notices? I'm going to say, give me my car back now, or I'm going to take you to court. I'm going to give him about 10 seconds to answer.
Guess what? Without any paperwork, before you go into court, you got controversy, man.
Of course you got controversy. That's why you go to court, because you couldn't settle it between your brother.
It's adversarial.
There's a controversy. That's why you move in court, because there's a controversy.
Look, I can go into court. It's adversarial. That gives the judge jurisdiction. Okay?
No, it doesn't give the judge jurisdiction if you want a trial by jury. That's going to be the judges then. You could say, look, when you're a plaintiff, when you're the moving party, when you're the prosecutor, and you submit your claim before a tribunal, and you place it into a public courthouse, you surrender jurisdiction and control of your paperwork, and now it's up to the judges to decide the merits of your case. Right. It's that simple. Right, because you're not a big boy and you can't handle this shit on your own, so you had to go round up a posse and help you collect from the person that done you wrong. So those people are going to judge whether or not that your case has merit, whether or not that you've truly been done wrong. And if you have been done wrong, they will send a posse over there and they will have a warrant of debt on the fucking man, and they will go in, the deputies in the sheriff's department will go in there and they'll strip that man of his property until they put it up in auction and until your debt is paid back, that the jury came down and the verdict of the jury has been satisfied. It's that simple.
Here's the thing, man. I'm trying to enhance your process. You think I'm just going after...
I'm done in 93 seconds.
I know. You think I'm going after the equity court. Okay, when I'm not.
I don't care where are you going with this. I just did it so simple. It's scary. Somebody did you wrong. You say stop doing the wrong.
I am the man, and you're going in there just I am the man. Okay, and you're going into
wrong.
You're walking into an admiralty maritime court.
No, I'm not. What admiralty maritime court?
You are walking into an admiralty maritime court with gold fringe around the flag, man. You are walking. You are an enemy of the state.
You got to watch what happened with the Freemen of Montana. See, this is the Freemen of Montana.
I know all about it, man.
This is the Freemen of Montana nonsense that you're going down, man. I love this federal district court. I love this federal district court judge that went after the Freemen of Montana. What happened when the Freemen of Montana, the Schweitzer guy, when they went before the judge, All of a sudden, they started whipping out the Bible. All of a sudden, they started whipping out English common law. All of a sudden, they started whipping out Magna Carta. All of a sudden, they started talking about this gold fringe conspiracy theory wacko nonsense. So I love this district court judge. What this district court judge did is he got out from behind the bench. He took off his robe. He put a wooden chair in front of the Mr. Schweitzer and the Montana Freeman. On the way out off of the pedestal, the altar, the temple of doom, the judge kicked the American flag with the gold fringe to the floor. And he said, okay, the gold flag's gone. I'm not wearing no robe. I'm not part of no clergy or Illuminati. Now, you are going to answer this question. Guilty or not guilty, how do you plead? If anything comes out of your mouth other than that, I am going to hold your ass off. Now, how do you plead? And that was as simple as the man did it. He didn't give a rat's ass about no gold fringe. He didn't give a rat's ass about 10,000 pages that you guys put into these courts, because all it is paper terrorism. You're just trying to interfere with the proper function of a government agency, which is a court. It's a total waste of time. You're going to accomplish absolutely nothing. All Mr. Schweitzer had to do was say, may I have pen and paper so I may answer the court in a proper manner. Now, who is making the claim that I have done him wrong? What is the nature of the charges? Or have you suspended habeas corpus? Because I know the plaintiff has appeared, and the plaintiff must appear because he will appear in all courts throughout all mankind's history. I don't care if you were in a cave. The guy who said that did you wrong, he's going to have to appear because dead men tell no tales. So there must be a live party to point across that courtroom and said that you've done him wrong. If you refuse to appear, the plaintiff does not appear, you have no case. That's all Mr. Schweitzer had to say in his paperwork. He didn't have to go off on English common law. He didn't have to go off on Magna Carta. He didn't have to use the Bible. He didn't have to use any constitution. He didn't have to use any federal rule of civil procedure, but he did. And you know what? He died in a maximum security prison where? Up in Massachusetts or Arizona. So his process does not effing work, okay? Mine works very simple. When it's the United States of America versus some guy named Greg, I said, oh, good. The United States of America is going to take the witness stand in tax court and point across the courtroom and say that Mr. Greg has caused him, the United States of America, an injury or damage or financial loss or injury or harm to a man known as the United States of America. And they said, well, of course not. Then the plaintiff isn't going to appear. Well, then you have no case. Without the confession coming from this man, you have no case. And the Fed said right into this man's face, right when I was sitting in their office, they said, you're absolutely right. All we have is a paper case, and all we could do is wait and pray and hope that this man finally someday will confess. And there you go. So why don't I teach people the Free Man of Montana way? Why don't I teach them the notary process way? Because it does not work. Okay, let me just ask you a simple question about this common law lien. Where do you file? Where's your common lien? Where do you hold it, or where do you process it? Where do you do? Where does it exist?
Common law lien, it's all done through affidavit. Okay.
And where do these affidavits get stored?
Penalty of perjury.
Where do they get stored? Where do they get stored? Where they get housed? Where they get filed? Or where they get submitted? Where do they do that?
Well, you can put it wherever you want. I mean, I personally myself, I use public record, and I actually use the county recording office in the county.
Okay, let me just show you the massive difference between what you believe is a common law lien and what I believe is a common law lien. Okay.
Sure.
When Augusta County Sheriff's Department came into my sister's house to execute a warrant of debt, the man said to me, we got a judgment and a lien that we are going to place upon your sister, and we are going to strip that building of all possessions in that building to satisfy this debt, okay, because we got a lien. I said, oh, lovely. What kind of lien do you have there? And it's like, oh, good, you got a judgment, you got a lien. Oh, that's lovely. The only problem is I have a common law lien against my sister. And they said,
first off, that's not a lien. That's a left.
Okay, one more time. See, this is my show. That's what's great. I get to cut you off. One more time. I said to the deputy, I have a lien against my sister. And he says, oh, really? Yes, it's a common law lien. Now, you said you take your common law liens and you put it with the county recorder, you put it with the newspapers, you put it with the state, you put it with the feds. You know what? When he said to me, where's your lien recorded? You know what I said? I put my finger right to my head. I said, the common law lien is right here in my brain. I store it right here He says, oh yeah, how do I know it's true? I said, watch my lips. I'm going to utter it. And I will press that on any record in open court and any place I am summoned to appear. I will press upon the record my lien upon that I have upon my sister. That is the most superior lien, the most superior claim that you will ever see exist upon this land. No lawyer could come to court and testify that a lien exists. No piece of paper could be brought before the court and says it exists. It has to be uttered from a man. And I say I have a lien on my sister's property and everything that she owns. That lien will stand true for all time, and nobody can ever challenge it, and it'll always have standing in any court you wish me to appear. And I tell those people, everybody who's heard my stuff a million times, when I was done talking to the deputy, he grabbed me by the shoulder and says, God bless you, I love people who know the law. I didn't say I had a UCC 1 on her, and then I had a supplemental UCC 3, and I put all these scheduling fees on her, and I spent tens of thousands of hours studying UCC code. I didn't do any of this nonsense with that poor deputy. I didn't whip out this huge portfolio of everything that he could find that was recorded with the county recorder. I put my finger to my head, and he said, oh, where do I store the lien? Right here. He said, oh, yeah, come on now. I said, and you want to know where it's going to be recorded? In any open court in which I'm summoned to appear, to utter it and place it and press it upon a record. That's where that fucking lien will be noticed as true. And nobody will come forth and rebut my fucking claim, because no attorney could say, oh, well, that's ridiculous because he has no standing in court. And that lien that the deputy was trying to execute on was from Macy's, a credit card company, and a law firm from Richmond. So I knew my lien would stand up against anything Macy's wanted to place an affidavit in, because nobody from Mr. or Mrs. Susie Macy was ever going to appear in court to testify that any of that affidavits were true. Like Malik did. He says, Malik, you're so funny. I was going around with that poor guy. I said, dude, you're moving Cook County into the court. You're moving the state of Illinois. They're the defendant. He says, no, I'm the defendant in this DUI thing. I said, you're the fucking petitioner. You're the fucking moving party. The state of Illinois is defending itself from you. And it's like, that's fucking crazy, Karl. I said, dude, you think I'm fucking crazy? Hey, let's write a letter to the Secretary of State and let's get his motherfucking opinion. So we wrote a letter to the Secretary of State. And he's like, my God, Karl. He said exactly what you said. I'm fucking the petitioner, and they're the defendant, and I'm the one who's got to convince the court, not the fucking state of Illinois. He says, shit, Karl, I've been looking at this thing backwards. I said, yeah, you guys all look at this shit backwards, man. I said, once you guys realize you're looking at it backwards, then maybe it'll start making a little bit of sense to you. Yeah. But until you realize this is the way they're looking at it, and you think they're fucking crazy, they're looking at you and saying, you're just fucking stupid. You know, they're not looking at you crazy. They're just like, oh, there goes Junior again, throwing a temper tantrum, yeah, hang all the judges, yeah, attorneys are crooks, yeah. Everybody sucks. Yeah, sure. It's like this, they just look at you like you're freaking clueless. It's like, dude, you're the one who's moving this court. We're not moving it. It's like you're convicting yourself. This is a confession process. It's like the Catholic Church. You think the Catholic Church burned people? You think the Catholic Church killed people back during the Inquisition? No, they all confessed, and they all begged the priest to kill them. That's how the priests were able to go to sleep at night. It's like, well, aren't we like killing these people, like burning them at the stake and shit? No. They're all confessing that this is the punishment that they should get, because their souls will be released now. They could go to heaven, and it can only be quenched and cleansed with fire. So, like, oh, these people really believe that? Oh, yeah, we got that confession right here. Didn't we have to break all their knuckles to get it? No, we were just trying to exercise the devil out of them, and the devil was keeping them from confessing. Once we broke the body, we let their spirit free to see they confess. So it's just insane, man, how they justify their crazy shit throughout the centuries. It's the same thing the courts are doing to you guys now.
Misdemeanor on their record. They can't get rid of it, right? Even if they
What would it matter? What would it matter, man? What anybody? If you could. Well, one, yes, you could get anything expunged from a record if you want to. All you have to do is saying by that being placed upon my name or that name which I claim is causing me harm. And if you don't fucking remove that, I'm going to have to make a claim against the person who's in control of that. Okay. You could always make it that if somebody's doing something or somebody's not doing something, and by doing what they're doing, their policy, procedures, or practices is causing you a man harm, and that yes, that maybe that policies, practice, and rules was put there for a benefit for society, for the general good, it still doesn't negate the fact that it's causing you a man harm, and that you need them to cease and desist immediately.
Oh. And you will file that with the court, right? Like.
No, you find out with the fucking person that's doing it to you. You find like a vital statistics or who's ever in control of the paperwork. You go to them first.
Okay.
And if they say, well, you need a court order, it's like, okay, so so I guess at this point, Bobby, you're telling me no, right, Susie? A man, and you know that you, by what you are doing and failing to do, is causing another man harm and financial loss. You are now making yourself liable for causing of my injury or my financial loss. So is that how you want to, is that how you're going to stand in court? Like, I'm giving you a warning here. Is this your story? Is this what you're going to stick to? That you're doing it, you're a good little Nazi, and you're going to put a bullet in my head because Hitler gave you a piece of paper that said kill me. So is this how you're going to roll? Well, look, I'm just carrying out my orders. Good. Now, that's what they said at Nuremberg trials, and they killed all those fucking German officers that put bullets in little kids' heads. So just because you're carrying out orders, don't carry them out, man. If somebody's telling you, hey, man, you're going to hurt me if you do that. You can't hurt somebody just because somebody else orders you to do it.
Yeah.
Like I said, now, if you're killing a soldier, that's one thing, because that guy's coming at you with a gun, he's going to kill you. But you just can't just shoot little women and children in the head. They didn't pose any imminent means of any kind of death or destruction to you. What was the purpose of you doing that to these people? Well, we didn't look at them as people.
Yeah.
You can't just do that. I don't give a damn what a piece of paper told you could do. Well, if I didn't do that, they would have, they would have, busted me out of the army. Oh well. So at least you would have died with a clear conscience that you didn't fucking just hurt and blow up a little baby's brain. Isn't it better that you could have died with a clear conscience? Well, they would have shot me if I didn't carry out the order. Well, good. Well, if I didn't do that, they would have killed me. Really? How many German soldiers did you see shot and killed because they wouldn't kill Jewish kids? Well, I didn't see anybody. Well, they told us that they might have. Yeah, well, you know what? Until they do it, you're only conjecturing that that's what they might have done to you. It's just funny, man. Like I said, it's just amazing, man. And thank God we got, like I said, all this past history in which we can rely upon. Like I said, like something just as simple as the Nuremberg trials or the O.J. Simpson trial or this latest one, the Zimmerman trial. Same thing. Zimmerman trial. He got away because dead men tell no tales. The black kid was dead. The Chilean or Argentinian kid, whoever it was, the Zimmerman guy, he got away with it. Why? Because dead men tell no tales. Who knows who threw the first punch? Who knows? There was no eyewitness. And Zimmerman didn't say a fucking thing. The other side had to prove their case. They couldn't prove their case. Maybe the guy got away with murder. Who the hell knows? Because dead men tell no tales. And you can't convict the guy unless somebody gets to testify that they've seen who or who did not throw the first punch. No way of knowing.
That's right.
But that's the rule of law. Sometimes a guy like an O.J. Simpson gets away with it. Everybody knows he's guilty as dirt. And the Zimmerman thing, honestly, man, that's a tough one. It's a 50-50 coin toss. Because both guys could have started. Who knows? I wasn't there. It's just a guess. And do you want the price of somebody's life on your hand by making a wrong guess? And the jury has to say, well, no. That's why we have a rule of law. Does there have to be an eyewitness? Yes. Just like Judge Judy said. Judge Judy said to the busload of Catholic nuns, when a black guy hit their bumper off their front bumper in New York, and the guy said, the Judge Judy said to the nuns, what makes you think this man did it? Well, we got a busload of orphans that's seen him do it, and he gave us a bogus phone number, and he told us that this junkyard will give you a free bumper. Look for Bubba, he's my brother, and he'll give you a free bumper. We went to the junkyard. They said, we don't know nobody named Leroy, and there ain't nobody down here named Bubba. And they were like, and the nuns were like, well, you know, now we just want the $500. And then she said to the nuns, well, let's see what Leroy's got to say. Leroy, what do you have to say? He says, those bitches are fucking cracking nonsense motherfuckers. They never seen in their life. They just pinned the first black guy they fucking seen coming down a fucking road. I don't know who these fuckers are. I never fucking went down. I don't have a driver's license. I just came out of prison. I'm not allowed to drive. I'm on parole. So Judge,
you know, I've been trying to find that episode ever since you said it the last show.
Yeah,
Can I find that on YouTube?
When you watch the Judge Judy shows, you could skip the first 25 minutes and just watch the last 5 minutes. So however many, if they sell them in a series pack or something like that, you just get to every last episode of Judge Judy show the last 5 minutes. That guy was brilliant. By just saying, I don't recall, I don't have a fucking clue. These fuckers are setting me up. They're just picking the first motherfucker that walked. It was Catholic fucking nuns with a bus full of fucking orphans, man. It's hysterical, man. And the judge was like, look, I know this guy's lying through his teeth. I know it. I know he did it. I said, there's no way in the world you fucking nuns would possibly move a fucking court and to make a claim against anybody. You must be desperate for the money at this orphanage, or you would have never brought anybody into court. So obviously, you know, I know this guy did it. You got 50 freaking kids here. They're all swearing up and down he's the guy. But honestly, you need a third-party impartial witness. Did you ask, like, some little old lady walking down the street, can you put this in your mind? Can I take your name down as a witness to this accident? No, you never thought that you'd be stiffed for a bumper. The guy learned all his law from being in prison all his life. This guy's got a record a mile fucking long. He's got jailhouse fucking attorney skills. You're never going to beat this guy. So the people who get in trouble their whole life, they know how to get out of it because they've been getting in it their whole life, and they know how to work the system. She was like, he just knows how to work the system. You're never going to beat this guy. I know he's guilty of sin. He's laughing. He's mocking us. He thinks this is a total joke. But like Judge Judy said, look, but you good, godly Christian white women got to realize that when you good, godly Christian white woman messed around with a black guy down in Alabama 50, 60 years ago, and all of a sudden you got busted with this black guy, all of a sudden you screamed rape, and the next thing you know, this guy was swinging from a tree. So it comes around, goes around. Now in this country, you need a third-party impartial witness. No matter who you are, no matter what color you are, no matter who you think you are, you need a third-party impartial witness, and you ain't got it. So I got to set this man free. And that's the whole rule of law in this country, third-party impartial witness. You need a man to testify under oath who has nothing to gain by either side winning what happened, what he saw, what he witnessed. Until then, it's 50-50. This man from Colorado sent me all this stuff, and I said, oh, boy, this is terrible. I said, who wrote this? And he said, well, I did. I copied it off to you. I said, no, let's just go the first couple of sentences, word for word. I said, what makes you think that, what does this word, the word take, mean to you? He says, that's what it means. I said, well, that sounds like you're kind of demanding something from somebody, doesn't it? I said, if somebody says take you, you know, take notice. I said, I present a notice. So I'm giving him as a present. I'm giving him a notice as a present. You're saying take notice. You're like, take this, you bad man. Take this, you varmint. Take this. I said, take sounds like like a negative word. It's a fighting word, confrontational. I said, why don't you present him a notice? Because it's a present. You present them a notice. You're giving them a gift. You know, if they've done wrong, they certainly want to be noticed of it, and they certainly want to, you know, be able to correct the wrong. They certainly don't want to go have their wrongs. If they've been doing somebody wrong, of course they want to be noticed that they've been doing wrong, so they could stop doing wrong. You got to take it with the attitude that if somebody knows that they're doing something wrong, that they're glad when you're telling them, hey, you know what you're doing is wrong. You know what? This would be the right way, or this would be the correct way to do it. It's like, oh, really? Thanks. I didn't know I was doing it wrong. Yeah, it's like, yeah, well, you were doing me wrong, and now that I told you, I was like, oh, yes, I certainly don't want to do anything wrong to anybody.
Clarify, you know, when you said, okay, you get to a certain point in the case, and you're saying that you give the order, and I was kind of thrown off by that because wouldn't the order come from the judge? I mean, the magistrate, or could you clarify that?
No, because all orders come from the parties. It comes from either the defendant or it comes from the plaintiff. Or you could call the guy the wrongdoer and the prosecutor. Yeah, I don't care how you want to stylize it, or the claimant and the defendant. I don't care how you word the two people, but if it comes from the legalese point of view, if it comes from an attorney, he can propose orders. That's all he can do, is he can make a proposal of an order. He can't place an order before the court because he doesn't want to be held liable. Because whoever makes an order is going to be the one ultimately liable for the order. So he doesn't want to make an order. The attorney doesn't want to make an order. So the attorney is going to propose an order. And then that's when the judge or the jury comes back with the rendering of the verdict, whether that order should be recognized as a legitimate order. Then it'll be the order of the court, which means that if you are the defendant and you pled into that court, then you bound yourself to that order as well. So you can't sue nobody. You can't say, well, you ordered me, so I'm going to. No. Did you accept the role of defendant? Yes. Well, then you accept any ruling from the court. You can't come after the court and say, well, you gave me an order, so now you're going to pay for it. No. That's not the way it works. So when then, and people get confused about this minute orders or these minute orders. They get confused a lot. And all that means is, say you created an order and somebody did you wrong standing next to you, and they said, hell, I didn't screw you out of your money for 2 years. I screwed you out of your money for 3 years. And then you say to the judge, oh, I'd like to amend my order to include this additional year worth of damages. And the judge will say, okay. And then that's a minute order, a minute order. It's an order that pops up in the middle of the trial or the hearing because you've just been made aware of it. So now you're going to make a new claim for it. So the judge is going to attach it to your order that you sent into the court, with your claim. When you make a claim, a lawsuit, then you're obviously placing the order in there at the same time too. So the other side knows what you're demanding or what you require. Or what you require.
The magistrate still have to.
That's always the magistrate. Yeah, go ahead, man. You could ask me.
The magistrate, but if you put the order in, the magistrate still has to sign off on your order in order to make it binding.
First he has to make sure both parties are aware that, it's like if you want to actually go by like Rule 17, there's got to be real parties of interest. You can't just sue Santa Claus because you didn't get a toy for Christmas. He's got to make sure, wait a second, is there a real party standing on the other side? Is there another party to this? Who are you suing now? Oh, I'm suing God. Oh, really? Well, you know what? Honestly, I don't have jurisdiction over God, so if you want to try to place this order upon him, you can't do it through me. So he's got to make sure he's got jurisdiction over both parties before he can say, okay, now, you guys, the guy in the black robe is just basically a guy who's watching two people go out to a pistol duel. And so he's just the guy standing between the two guys saying, okay, take 20 paces, turn in 5. Or take 10 paces, turn in 5, whatever the rules are of the engagement. So all he's saying is, okay, did you answer this man? It's like, yes. Well, then as soon as you answered that man, then he's got jurisdiction over both of you. So he's like, okay, like you turned and shot at one guy, good, he shot at you. Did you turn and shoot back? Yes. Okay, great. We got a case. We got, I got something I could make a ruling on. Then he's going to say, okay, you made the claim, okay, and you gave an answer. You fired back an answer. So now we got now it's on. So let me see where yours went. Let me see where yours went. Okay, you're closer. You win.
All right, folks. I'm going to leave it there. I'll be back tomorrow at some point. Blessings to all. Specifically, many thanks to the contributors and supporters. You are a blessing to I. I think that's pretty much it. So I got more. Jefferson, if you want to come up tomorrow, I have an add-on because I remembered a first and a third part of the claim that I put on record on the last presentment. And I did, in fact, put there that I was not a surety for the legal entity known as, and then the all caps name. So I didn't mention that before, but I did put that on there. It's kind of a thing where it's pretty much whatever space you're in at the time, whatever you want to put down there. I don't oftentimes necessarily have a memorized rap completely, different elements, I guess, memorized. And then I apply that as necessary. So yeah, I just wanted to correct that record. But yeah, come up tomorrow and I'll if anything, I did it once here before. I have the claim over there in the folder. I can just read it word for word. All right, I'm out of here, people. I'll see you tomorrow.
Recon. Put you in the sickle for the harvest is right. We ain't down for wickedness, false prophets a lie. Woman to the wicked grass of line to sight. Unquenchable flame, stars fall in the night. Shemayim snap the scroll, mountains fled in the anger. Hills a flock of rams, skipping special forces, recon angels. Really about no labels, we about labor for the souls. Wells up in infinite, waters coming forth. Spiritual revival, dehydration shall I pour. Kept the run down to the mouth, cool floor. Kingdom heaven in me is parts of the morbid head. Treasure like deep in you keep to the never end. We all a ray, a fragment piece of the sea sledge. Point of a center, he segment filled in with ether. He'll be on the end, you're passing the present teacher. Pre-sealed and covered in Nehemiah, not Easter. We all a ray, a fragment piece of the sea sledge. Point of a center, he segment filled in with ether. He'll be on the end, you're passing the present teacher. Pre-sealed and covered in Nehemiah, not Easter. Not a game, stolen the soul arrangement. Adversary in the details, mirrors and smoking angels. Incriminating emails, fake news, read the paper. Pimping who been printing, it's all designed to take you. Division in your cells, almighty sustain. Ain't got how relying on nothing else. In trouble, it's all vapor, elder wind in the sails. The water, the whole rainbow, reclamation, just a vessel, a wrestle. Jonah, you came for. Stay mind, woe with holy who. Lord, if they only knew how they controlling you, thought still a slave. Look how they holding you, enemy scoping you, word on my wing. Stay mind, dwell with holy who. Lord, if they only knew how they controlling you, thought still a slave. Look how they holding you, enemy scoping you, word on my wing. Force tremendous, Bill Adam breath, living dust, mushy for the enemy, burnt down like a Dutch. Once upon a distant, dirty sackcloth in the ashes. Truth don't grow with mischief, prayer get raised about the ashes. Save me from the miry, I would fell if not your pasture. Had you not an anchor, if you save me, I'll be thrown. Thorn to the thief, leech, mind to the corn. Stone in the sling, sing signs in the storm. Rock foundation, time echo with the north. Recon over game, wings fly with the force. All purpose type material to camouflage your course. Tiger stripe, orange, red drip from the source. We all array, your fragment piece of the sea sledge. Point of a center, he segment filled in with ether. He'll be on it then, you're passing the present teacher. Pre-sealed and covered in Nehemiah, not Easter. Stay mind, dwell with holy who. Lord, if they only knew how they controlling you, thought still a slave. Look how they holding you, enemy scoping you, word on my word. Stay mind, dwell with holy who. Lord, if they only knew how they controlling you, thought still a slave. Look how they holding you, enemy scoping you, word on my wing.